What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to For the Nation podcast. If you're new here, hello, welcome. And if you're watching, welcome. This is the very first time that I'm doing a video for YouTube with the podcast, so I'm very excited to really start my YouTube journey. So I really want to talk about today's podcast, and that is with Austin Taylor of Austin Taylor's Insurance. He is a really cool guy, and he's super involved in the community and really knowledgeable when it comes to all things insurance, as you should be if you own your own brokerage. So if you want to learn about how insurance works, how insurance companies make profit, maybe you're just trying to learn a little bit about business and what it takes to be an entrepreneur, then stay tuned and listen to this episode because he's got a lot of really valuable insight. So without further ado, let's get to the episode. We are good. Austin Taylor, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking your time. I love to connect with some local business owners. So why don't you kind of take the first few minutes and introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do. Just Austin Taylor, who is he?
Yeah, a little word vomit.
Yeah.
Mike, I appreciate it. Thanks for having us. So I'm Austin Taylor Insurance. We started in 2013 with Nationwide Insurance as what's called an exclusive agency. So Nationwide was our kind of one and only company that we could write with. That changed a little bit going through the years. We bought a couple insurance companies also, or agencies, in 2017, 2018, and then 2019. And in 2020, we actually bought out of that contract with Nationwide. Mm-hmm. So we went what's called independent, which is the better. It's the best thing to be. So it was a good change for us. It allowed us to work with pretty much anybody we want to. Gives us better options for clients for their individual needs, unique situations. So we don't have to try to make you fit into a specific carrier's appetite or their profile.
Right.
We get to take you out to market and see who wants you. So we really are able to work for our clients versus answering to a company.
Yeah, really giving them the best deal that you could find for them.
Yeah, I mean the best combination, right? So there's no sense in having something if you don't know how to use it, mm-hmm. like in a claim situation. But there's also no sense in paying more than you have to. But being said that, price isn't everything. So all the commercials of say 15% in 10 minutes or less, you got to be very careful about what you're getting. So
yeah.
One, in most of those situations, you're calling a call center. So you're talking to somebody that is licensed in maybe every state in the country because they take calls from around the country. So you're not talking to somebody local. They don't necessarily know the neighborhood, the area, and they're not taking the time. They're not as vested in what they're doing as the local independent agency channels are.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested. Insurance is one of those things that's not so sexy,
That's
so to
okay.
say. You know what I'm saying?
We say it all the time.
All right. So it's just one of those topics that's quote unquote not so sexy. So how did you end up going to insurance? Like, was it something that you were just naturally drawn to, or?
Now, I mean, the short answer is I hated what I was doing beforehand.
I hear that.
But no, the real answer is my grandfather was a life insurance guy, retired, long before I knew it. So it's not like I grew up doing it. But having friends that were in the business, went to the University of South Carolina and stayed in Columbia and worked for a computer company up there. And we actually made rating software. So we take your information and put it into to develop your rates and the underwriting rules and all that kind of stuff. I help make those programs. Mm-hmm. And so for 3 years, I sat in a cubicle with headphones in, listening to music and testing software and decided, hey, this isn't me in the long term. So when my wife graduated school, went out and took that leap and went to work for an agent.
Wow. So how is it, like, how do you become an insurance broker? You're a broker, correct?
So there's a couple different things. Brokers are typically someone that an agent goes to when we don't necessarily maybe have enough volume to hold our contract on our own. So if I write maybe one policy a year through company XYZ, we would go to a broker because that's not enough for us to keep a contract direct. So we're an independent agency.
Awesome. How does, and this is going to sound kind of elementary to you, I'm sure, but me and, other people who are just coming into adulthood, so I know when I joined the Army and got out of the Army, I had to like learn how to adult real quick. I'm learning about all these different insurances, home insurance.
Right.
So how does insurance work?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a pretty wide question.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, really, so you mentioned home. So the purpose of a home insurance policy is to insure the house. Obviously, you've got a loan on them most cases now, especially now with mortgage price or home prices and everything going so crazy. So the home insurance works to protect you, protect the house, provide some liability for you in case somebody sues you, trips on your lawn.
Yeah.
Let's say you have kids and you've got a trampoline in the backyard and a friend's kid breaks their arm on your trampoline and they decide to sue you for negligence. So the homeowner's policy would step in there. Also, it's meant to, in its basic terms, the insurance policy is meant to make you whole the moment before a claim happened. So let's just say I don't ever talk about claims in the future. I talk about them in the past just so I don't make come up with some scenario that actually comes true and all of a sudden I feel bad about it. So let's just say your house burned down last month. Well, the condition it was in the moment before the claim, less your deductible, is what we're obligated to contractually to get you to. So if you want to change your paint colors on your walls, you're more than welcome to. If you want to change like the roof structure or, the material, you want to go from shingles to like a metal roof, you're responsible for that difference in the cost, but we'll replace it to like, kind, and quality right before the claim happened.
And that comes from the word I'm assuming you're referring to is indemnification.
Yep, indemnification,
Jeez.
indemnify. In all those proper English terms. We indemnify the loss and get you back to where you were or make you whole again. There's certain situations where that can't necessarily happen, but depending on, unique situations, that is the goal of the insurance policy.
Yeah. What is a deductible? I know this is, kind of
okay.
elementary, but some people, when they're going through like selecting a policy, they see a deductible and they don't necessarily know what that means.
Yeah, so the deductible is really your portion of the loss, and it's meant in very simplistic terms to not prevent claims, but make sure that the claim is worthwhile in submitting. So if you had a $0 deductible and, something happened that was very minor, a little, let's just say you I don't know, backed into your own a tree in your yard, something where there was not another party involved.
Right.
And it just scuffed your paint a little bit or, did something very, very minor. If you had a $0 deductible, you'd claim that. And so we'd have a bunch of little tiny, tiny claims that then we have to have a claims professional work on. We've got to have it adjusted. We have to have it fixed. And so it's just meant to basically be your buy-in to a claim. So it's for serious things that need to be repaired so that you have a buy-in or skin in the game for the claim.
Yeah. What is the relationship between like someone like yourself and a claims adjuster? Is there like animosity between the two, or do they kind of work in tandem?
No. And actually I had a conversation with the claims folks yesterday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously all the crazy stuff we've had recently with hail, specifically last Friday, downtown North Augusta, National Hills, and downtown Augusta got just hammered with hail and high winds. So we had a claims conversation yesterday. Really, our goal and our role in the claims process is to be an advocate for our client. So the insurance company, we know what the policy is. We've got the information. We help them facilitate the claim. So Mr. Customer calls us, says, hey, I have hail damage on my car. We refer them to a body shop, kind of set the expectation of what the process is going to look like. And anymore, unfortunately, we're months out, on getting things fixed because of parts and labor shortages and things like that.
Yeah.
But actually, I talked with a body shop this morning, local shop, and their average estimate for the hail damage from Friday is about $3,500 per car.
That's crazy for little ice, huh?
Yep. Highest one he's seen is $9,000 as of this morning. So, our relationship, we try to facilitate the claim, make sure our customers as happy as they can be, that they understand what's going on. Because again, the claims adjuster, sometimes they'll be local, sometimes they'll be, virtual, sitting somewhere else today.
Yeah.
But we just try to be the liaison and advocate for our customer, make sure that they're getting treated properly and that they're as happy as they can be.
Yeah, little fun fact. I actually maybe 4 months ago sat through some online thing learning about what it takes to be an adjuster, a cat, which is like a catastrophe adjuster,
catastrophe adjusters,
and how they're always traveling. And I've seen on YouTube, looking at some of these people, like they get in arguments with some of the homeowners sometimes because they're like, what do you mean it's not worth this? And you have to like be the bearer of bad news, even though I'm sure it sucks to have just lost a house or like have to now replace your roof because of it or something.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's never fun, right? So if a claim is started, something has gone wrong. You know, it's not, oh, you know, today was great. We've got to file an insurance claim for, you know, on our house, on our cars, on our boat, you know, whatever the case may be. But it's just part of it. So we try to make that as easy as possible going forward, because that is a low point for most people, you know, in a claim, especially with a fire loss on a house.
Yeah, I can only imagine just back with Hurricane Katrina how busy that just point of life, that season of life must have been for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean that affects everyone, right? So those companies, they're having to divert adjusters from us to go to Louisiana so that they can help in this catastrophe so our customers still expect a level of service.
Yeah.
So there's a balancing act there, but fortunately, you know, we haven't had anything like that in a while where we've pulled people.
Right. You know, you said something interesting about how you refer people to different, you know, body shops or maybe roof repair or something like that. When you started this business, was that something that you realized you had to do, like make these relationships with other businesses in the area?
Yeah, I mean, you know, fortunately, when we started as a nationwide agency, we had like a list, and it was called a blue ribbon list. Mm-hmm. And basically, those were contractors or shops that were kind of approved by Nationwide for them to do. So we developed relationships with those folks, and then just being around, you know, you meet people playing in a charity golf tournament or something like that, where you meet another professional. But mention roofers and things like that in a claim situation, especially with hail like we've had, you'll see a bunch of trucks running around town that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Don't talk to those guys, you know, because not necessarily that they will do a bad job, but if they do, they're going to be hard to find. You know, deal with the folks that are local, that have, you know, phone numbers that start where you're at. Typically, if a guy knocks on your door, it's not a good thing to deal with them. So just deal locally. It's much easier to handle a problem if it arises in the future if somebody's local.
Yeah, I remember, well, you kind of mentioned it earlier in this podcast, but I think it was on a YouTube video. I remember you saying, like, I grew up here, so it's like it's better to go with me because you're able to point them to, like, the best, most accountable, reliable people. Yeah,
I mean, we've specifically now with the massive influx in our area, you know, whether it's Grovetown Cyber, whether it's, you know, any number of things, medical district blowing up again, there's a lot of people moving from out of town. And so they, you know, a lot of times after the realtor and, you know, their mortgage lender may be virtual, but their realtor's typically local. After their realtor, we're the next person that they meet. And so, you know, a lot of times we'll get, you know, hey, who do you recommend for painting, or who do you recommend for a fence, or, you know, where should I go buy a car? So we do try to make sure that we send them to places that are good. But you just end up meeting a lot of people in this business.
Yeah, that's really cool. How does an insurance company work? Like, how is an insurance company become profitable? Because I'm assuming it's not so much just taking the monthly payments from people, because you, at the other end of that, you have to dole out money to help repair some of the things. So where in the system is the profit made?
So they have a team of actuaries, and that's what these people go to college for. They're very high level finance and math people.
Yeah.
And they figure out how to set the rates based on expected future losses, past losses, historical data. And so they develop rates, and that's where rates come from, is the actuary team inside a company. That company, you're right. I mean, most of their money, yes, they make money on premiums, but they've got to pay, you know, they have to pay us, they have to pay claims people, they've got to pay actual claims, they've got to pay overhead, salaries, stock options, whatever that may be. So what they do is they take the money that we pay in premiums and they also invest it. So they may own, depending on where they're headquartered, they may own a ton of real estate. You know, like Columbus, Ohio happens to be, and I really don't know why, but it happens to be home base for a lot of insurance companies. And so, like Nationwide, for example, Nationwide Arena in Columbus, they own tons of buildings in downtown Columbus, Ohio, and Grandview, Ohio. And so they make money on real estate. They rent out the real estate to somebody else, and they're a landlord. So they invest that money also, in different ways to make money over and above just monthly premiums.
Yeah, it's something I've always wondered. Like, you see, I'm a big golf guy, and I'm pretty sure you are too. Like, you see all these tournaments that are the Travelers Cup, all these tournaments that are insurance-based things, and you're like, how are they that big? But I mean, I guess I see it like, and this is one of the questions I want to ask is like, insurance has become mandatory for certain aspects of your life. Like, if you want to have a car, you have to have insurance.
Yep.
So the question I have for you is like, what are the mandated insurances that you have to carry?
So, like you mentioned, the state requires you to carry specific limits, and they're the state minimums, and they vary by state. So, for example, I think it's Florida, and maybe even California, the minimum insurance is $10,000. Georgia's $25,000. South Carolina is also $25,000. So auto insurance is required or mandated by the state. In order for you to have registration, you have to have proof of insurance. You get penalties if not. Yeah. You get your license revoked, all that kind of stuff. On the homes, the mortgage companies require it to ensure their interest in the property. Obviously, they want to make sure that, if your house burns down, it can be rebuilt because you still owe them however much money, you owe them there. If your mortgage is paid off, that's just an option for you. But, really in the exchange of things for, let's just say $1,500 a year for a $250,000 house, you start doing the math, and those things, it would take you 200 years to save up that money. So, it's, in my opinion, always right to insure that home no matter what. Now, you start getting into other things. You're not required to have boat insurance by state law. It's a good thing to have. You're not required to have it. Obviously motorcycles are tagged, so they're required insurance. Then you get into the extra things that are just good depending on your phase in life of umbrellas and life insurance and things like that.
Yeah. Is there like a big disparity within the insurance industry between the different branches of insurance, like home, auto, life insurance, medical insurance? Health insurance, sorry, not medical insurance.
That's okay. Disparity like how?
Like, will you touch health insurance at all?
No, absolutely
That's
not.
what I'm saying. Like, why is that? Is it just because it's a whole nother beast? Like, so.
Yeah, exactly. So before the Affordable Care Act, we did a little bit of health insurance, not much, because I feel like health insurance is a lot like financials. So we had a financial license. I had my Series 6 and 63 licenses, which allows us to do variable annuities, variable securities, mutual funds, things like that. But I don't think that it's healthy or right for one person to try to do everything. So we focus on property casualty insurance, home, auto, all the accessory lines, boats, RVs, umbrellas, life insurance. We gave up the financials because I think somebody that does that needs to wake up in the morning, and that's what all they do. They wake up in the morning, they check the market, see what futures are doing. They're reading publications, they're reading, historical stuff to see what's going on. And I think health insurance is a lot of the same way.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt,
That's okay.
But it's something that's, when I was doing research for this podcast, something that I found interesting was how much like life insurance specifically relies on the market.
You talking about for
its profit?
Yeah. So again, they take that money, and if you've got a term policy, if you don't die inside that 20 years, unless you convert that policy to another one, you're just kind of out that money. So term life insurance is like renting a car. It's great while you have it. You can go wherever, do whatever while you're driving, while you have the car rental. But once you hand them the keys back, it's over with. Yeah. And so the term life policies are great for people that are getting, starting a family. They bought a house. They're having kids. They're doing, all these things that are kind of ramping up their potential debts to start with. Term life is more affordable than whole life because, again, you're renting it. But at the end of that term, let's say year 17 of a 20-year term policy, we can convert it to a whole life policy, give you some credit for those premiums you paid in the past, and then protect you, going forward.
Yeah. Do you ever recommend like certain ones? Like, is that part of like a service of an insurance provider? Like, hey, I don't know, you might rather do this based on like X, Y, and Z.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we sit down, we're talking about a life insurance conversation. We'll talk about, when you bought your house, what kind of, maybe student loan debts that your family has, mortgage debts, any business debts. We do a lot of term life insurance for people that are building, new apartments or new commercial buildings to cover the loan in the event something happens. That way the loan's paid off and maybe their spouse can continue on with the company or their business partner can buy each other out, key man life insurance, things like that.
I'm really glad you just said student loans. Is there a student loan insurance, some sort of plan that people can get on? Because
not that I'm aware of.
It's interesting, right? It's one of those deals that no matter what, you're paying it.
Well, they're mostly private loans, and the government's got their set of loans and things like that. But I think I've heard some stories where a young single person passed away with student loan debt, and the parents co-signed on the loan. So now the parents,
they're getting dinged for it.
Yep, the parents have to pay it, and that's where a life insurance policy could help out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're young and single and don't have a debt, you don't have a family, life insurance isn't really something you're thinking about, but it couldn't pay it off for a cosigner.
Yeah. You offer farmers insurance. This is just interesting to me. There's things when you're not in the industry you just don't think about, right?
Right.
So farmers insurance, I was like, man, what do they need? But I guess the lands, the crops. So what is covered in farmers insurance? Yeah.
So farm or agriculture insurance is, kind of the lifeblood of the nation, right? I mean, that we eat what we grow. Hopefully we're importing a ton of it these days, but it just is what it is. Excuse me. But for a farm, insurance policy, we're covering the tractors, because a new tractor for, a commercial ag operation is over $250,000. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So like the little tractors you see, like let's just say at the John Deere dealership over here, the kind that, you can pull behind a regular pickup truck might be $20,000. But a true agricultural tractor, easily $250,000 or more. And then your implements are all hundreds, $100,000 plus too. So, when you start getting into that kind of thing, especially one that comes to mind we've had problems with, or the industry had problems with, is combines. So cotton pickers, corn pickers, the combines, and specifically cotton pickers. But anyway, the combine, the corn is harvested when it's dry. Mm-hmm. So it's taking in all this dry material, and we've got heat from our engines. We've got heat and friction from, the cleaners and the barrels that are knocking everything loose. And so the chaff from the corn, whatever it is, kind of builds up and they catch on fire a lot. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily, the tractor itself. It's like the combine, the harvest equipment, things like that. But then too, let's just say in a hay situation, we've got a bunch of hay farmers over in Windsor and in New Ellington and that side of town where, they're holding a couple $100,000 worth of hay all summer. So you are starting in the fall. So you harvest hay, starting about now, which is mid-May. Mm-hmm. They're starting to cut once it gets good and dry. They'll cut 3 or 4 times. They're holding that inventory from the summer in a big barn. And so we can insure it in that barn because that literally is their product. And so hay catches fire. I mean, it just does.
Yeah.
Actually, if hay is baled too early, so it's not dry enough, the center of it will actually decay, like in a mulching type situation.
Like a compost type thing.
Compost, how a compost, when you turn it over, is steam sometimes. So the hay actually does that to itself inside this tight wound bale. It'll actually spontaneously combust and catch on fire.
I feel like the insurance industry is full of just like fun facts that you'd never know otherwise. Like I would never think that that hay just like combusts randomly.
Yeah, it can. And so that's a big issue when it comes to that. So, in the farmer's best interest is to have the hay done correctly. So they're trying to do it right. But, if it rains while they're doing it, it might get a little too wet, but they're already baling and they're there. We paid out a claim 2 years ago now due to a hay fire. A farmer up in North Carolina he was riding his Polaris Ranger around his farm and parked it, and we had a real windy night in March 2 years ago, and hay blew against the hot muffler of his Polaris Ranger, caught the Polaris on fire, and it burned up $900,000 worth of equipment in his barn.
Good Lord.
Yep. So the insurance company lost out big on that one.
Yeah. I'm sure.
I think he was paying about $10,000 a year in premiums.
Yeah.
And they've got to recover $900,000. You know,
I
so
can
so that's the bet on that side too. You know, people say, well, I'll never get anything back. Well, that's because it's for catastrophes, and it's like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Insurance is kind of seemingly like that double-edged sword. You hate it, but once you need it, you're like, glad I have it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the farm stuff, there is another specialty in there that we don't do, which is crop insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do the product, we'll do the tractors, we'll do the homestead, the houses, the cars, the completed operation liability when it goes to market. You know, we'll carry it all the way through. We'll do the semi-trucking, we'll do that kind of stuff. We don't do crop insurance. Again, it's a government program that is very particular, and it's one of those things I think too, like going back to finances, you need to be in it daily to do it correctly, because you are messing with somebody's livelihood if you don't have it right.
Right. All right. I want to kind of switch gears and talk more business and entrepreneurialism. When in your life did you like have that feeling that you were like, all right, I want to step out, take the risk, start my own thing?
I guess kind of my first thing, I sold Christmas trees in high school. Worked at a Christmas tree farm, cutting open Fraser firs and blue spruces and all that kind of stuff. So did that in high school. I wasn't good enough to play varsity basketball, so I made T-shirts and sold them in high school until the school shut me down. You know, I walked in with a box of T-shirts in the morning and was selling them for a big game against Orangeburg or whoever it was. So kind of when I think about where my head started or whatever, that's kind of what I go back to. But going out on my own, when I left that job in Columbia, went to work for an agent who was a friend of mine and sold for him for a couple months. And then my wife got a better job, so we moved back to North Augusta, and transferred to another agent there. Same company, still was with Nationwide.
Yeah.
And learned a lot from his staff and his team. They basically taught me everything I know. And then basically kind of got tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, you've done X, Y, and Z in premium. You've sold enough. Do you want to take over some retiring agencies in Augusta? And so that's what we did. Ford Verdery and Wayne Budd's agencies have been open since probably 1978.
Wow.
So
40 plus years.
Yeah, they'd been in the business a long time, both great guys, and was fortunate enough to buy their agencies and kind of combine them into one.
Yeah.
And kind of went running from there.
That's awesome. What have been like the biggest lessons that you've learned owning your own business?
Trust but verify is probably kind of the main one. Early on, I can't mention any names, but I had an employee stealing money from us. Yep. And so, I trusted her to kind of handle payments and things like that. And she was fleecing customers, and ended up, I had to sit down on a Saturday once I caught her and pull out my credit card and pay premiums to make sure that customers were whole, because their policies were canceling if there wasn't money on them, but the customers had been taken out already. So, we paid those and put her in jail and that kind of thing. So trust but verify is probably the main one. And then, take a risk, do something different.
Yeah. That's so crazy. Like, how did you find that? Was there just a sneaking suspicion, or was it like a by accident, just circumstance you came across it?
Yeah, she caught herself. I mean, that's really what it was. I mean, I won't go into great detail, so I don't want to give anybody else any ideas that might have some sort of nefarious thought, but basically it caught up with her. She couldn't keep up with the cash requirements in the bank, and the bank called me one Friday afternoon and said, hey, you're about to overdraft out of what we call a premium sweep account. So basically, if you pay us, we put it in a bank account. We tell the company, hey, take it out of our account. And that's how your premiums get paid to the company in that situation, if you're paying cash or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing. We're not taking cash anymore. So basically, it just kind of caught up with her. There wasn't enough cash coming in to keep up with what was going out. And the bank called me, and I took a check down there to make sure that, everything was taken care of over the weekend. And started doing some digging Friday night, and called her out on it Saturday, and there we go.
Yeah, that's crazy. What have been has there been like a philosophy that you've had that's really helped you in business?
I think try something different.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we're doing. The insurance industry and agencies really are archaic. I mean, and I forget the exact numbers, so I won't say exact numbers, but most of our industry's older. Everybody's
getting ready to retire. Yeah,
exactly. I lost 2 great employees to retirement They've been with the same agency, so the agency before me and me for 18 to 19 years. So that's just a lot of knowledge that's walking out the door. So, having to do something different. So we're hiring virtual people now. So they're in the U.S. We don't have any foreign employees outside of the U.S., so no VAs from the Philippines or Vietnam or anything like that. But we do have one employee that's working from home. We've got another one, hopefully, that'll come on working from home for us later this year.
Yeah.
And going back to the archaic, I mean, the way people interact with customers is still, phone call Mr. Smith. Well, Mr. Smith's working during the day, so can we text him? Can we email him? And so, or can we send him a video proposal? Hey, I'll go through all your coverages. We'll use the built-in programs on our laptops, and we'll, record it so you can watch it when you want to.
Yeah, screen record. All right, so I'm glad you went there because it's one of the questions and one of the things I really wanted to bring you on to talk about, and that is like you started a YouTube channel. You've really kind of embraced this digital media world, especially within business. Do you think that it's becoming like necessary in order to succeed, or do you just think that within the industry it's just the next step forward for that industry?
I mean, our first step towards that, or my first step towards that, was bringing on an in-house marketing director. Mm-hmm. And Kimberly's is the push behind this stuff. A lot of the stuff's her ideas and kind of where we're going, or, I'll give her an idea and, we'll kind of morph it around. So that's kind of our first step in this, was bringing marketing in-house. So we were spending thousands of dollars a month on, groups and people that aren't local to help us try to market to local people.
Yeah.
So now looking back on it, it seems kind of counterintuitive, but that's what everybody was doing, or everybody is still doing. They're contracted with a firm in Indiana, and they release canned social media content, and they do a quarterly checkup to see how your SEO's doing, and, blah, blah, blah. So the first step in all this was bringing marketing in-house and running with that. And then also kind of having free reign to say, hey, we'll try something different. Let's do something new. And the insurance company, or the insurance world, I'll say fun, exciting, and dangerous are bad words, right? So,
yeah.
So anything fun, exciting, and dangerous, your typical company's not going to insure. So we need to be a little bit different and try something fun. And obviously, talking about insurance isn't the most fun thing in the world. So that's why, our channel stuff focuses on promoting other people and kind of that one win, all win mentality.
Yeah. First, shout out Kimberly.
Yeah.
Behind the camera.
Behind the cameras hanging out.
Yeah. But is it the marketing? Is it like really cool? Like now that you're kind of behind the scenes a little bit more and you're taking like a firsthand approach in it, have you like really started to enjoy it too?
I don't know. Do we enjoy it? Yeah. So that it's different, right? I mean, I've got an economics and finance degree. Self-promotion's one thing, but marketing's a different thing.
Yeah.
I believe anyway. So, we're trying with our marketing to meet people where they want to be met, and so that's video. It's maybe, socials, different things, and the benefit of having it locally is we talk every day, even on Saturday and Sunday, hey, you see how many views our reel got? This Instagram reel did better. And so even in our stuff that we've been doing, our video content, we've gone from long form to cutting it down to like 20-second clips.
Yeah.
Because reels perform better than this, and we get more traction on Instagram than we get on Facebook, and it's wild. But yeah, it's more fun because I'm actually learning and doing it, and we can see the way things change on a dime versus using an outside marketing firm where it takes 2 months to get on somebody's schedule to redo something.
How long have you been doing the digital stuff now? Like video and whatnot? Video,
probably 8 months of actual long form stuff, or, sit down doing professional video. I will say that we tried it on our own for a while before that. We bought all the little doodads off Amazon and, trying to do everything on our phone and all that. Yeah. And I think that organic stuff has a place, in, like topical conversations or quick hits on, hey, we just had a hailstorm. We need, here's your steps of 1, 2, 3. But it's different when you're trying to do something like this, where you're sitting down and having kind of that long form conversation that needs to be a little bit better.
Yeah. All right, so I want to talk about your YouTube channel, which is Agent About Town. One, how'd you come up with the name?
I think we were sitting just for days, back and forth trying to figure out what we were doing. There's anytime you're kind of late to the game, and I'd say we're late to the game nationally, I think, as far as the digital stuff, as far as audio, video. In big cities, traditionally the big cities have the ideas or because they have the population and things go a little bit faster than they do in town. So, we're starting to look through names and, this one was really close to another podcast that was already started or blah, blah, blah. And so since we don't focus on insurance, but I'm still an agent and we're going around town talking to other businesses, Agent About Town started there.
Yeah.
And then we actually, speaking of things that just that started, but maybe we didn't run with them, we have a segment that we had started to work on called Outstanding in Their Field. So it was a play on farm insurance and then people that are literally outstanding in their field. So the best nonprofit, the best this, the best doctor, the best, whatever. So we're still working on that kind of stuff. But, it's really putting it down on a whiteboard, a bunch of different things and see what happens. And then obviously you've got to check social media handles and you've got to check trademarks and you've got to check websites and things like that. So that's kind of where it all came from.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I can kind of speak on this just a little bit. Obviously, now that I've started this podcast and integrated video now, it's a steep learning curve for sure. And you're lucky enough to be able to hire like a marketing director. And for me, it's like people don't realize. They just see the end product.
Right.
They don't see what goes into it. Like, no, I had to learn how to use this mixer. I had to learn how to use the audio program, the editor, the video editor, how to use that camera. There's a lot that goes into it, man. So it's cool to see people just like say, you know what, I'm going to hire, because people like they want to get trained up in that and do it because it's fun. I will say it is a lot of fun to be able to sit down and like say, wow, I created that product at the end of it. Right. So it's cool to see people employ other people like that with those ideas.
Well, I mean, I think you still create it no matter what, right? It's you can't know everything or do everything or be everything. And in our business, my job it's to be, the insurance person.
Right.
And that's marketing, I mentioned self-promotion's one thing, but, marketing, SEO, blog articles, all this kind of stuff, timelines of how things work. That's not an insurance thing, right? So why should an insurance guy try to figure it out when we can farm it out and bring in the right people to do it? And the same goes for inside the insurance world too, right? I mean, we've got new talent that we're developing, 2 new agents that just passed their licensing this week that both came from kind of other businesses that are just the right personality. They've got the right mindset. We'll teach them insurance, but we need the right person. And so, hiring the right people, having the right people on your team makes life easier. Yes, you're going to pay for it, but how much time are we wasting? How much insurance time am I wasting or management time am I wasting trying to figure out how to do TikTok? Granted, there's a 12-year-old that knows how to do it really, really well somewhere or everywhere, but for me, it's just easier and better to bring somebody on that knows what's up.
Yeah. Have you, were you like naturally good at being on camera and all that? Or is that?
No. It was the first ones. We joke about it all the time with our video team at South Content, Allison South. When we first started, it was, hey, here's 7 things you need to talk about. And, I did like you did, research on people, on who we're talking to, that kind of thing. But now, like they just say, hey, go for it. Here's kind of a general idea of what we were thinking for like the shot placement, which didn't know was a real thing. That changes the conversation, blah, blah, blah. So, no, not good at it. Probably still not good at it, but better than we were when you're talking about takes and redoing stuff.
Yeah.
Because when you're looking for that professional video, it needs to be on 1, 2, 3. And even something as seemingly as insignificant as a pause changes things.
Oh, absolutely.
And I remember the first time that the folks at Allison South, I did something that they were going to tell me to do. I did it on my own. It's like they're proud of proud of what they've done. Taught us a little bit. So no, it's a learning curve, and it changes every time.
Do you find yourself like growing into that personality? Because I will say when I first started doing this, like I kind of felt, I don't know, timid might not be the right word, but a little bit like more reserved.
Right.
But now I'm to the point where I'll like start to be like, I don't know if I agree with you there, man.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, like you're worried about what you're doing with your hands.
Yeah.
You're worried about this and that. Yeah. I mean, it changes. Yep. It's hand talkers, all this kind of stuff. No, it changes, and you certainly do get more comfortable, more confident, and that hopefully shows through in your product too.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm going to kind of cut it there. Why don't you take however long you need to plug Austin Taylor Insurance and
Sure.
what you're doing?
Yeah, so we are a local independent agency, like we mentioned earlier, probably for home and auto package, preferred package stuff, 12 carriers. We're bringing on new companies daily. We brought on a high-value home carrier here recently, which we're really excited about. They do some phenomenal stuff in the high-value home markets. We've got a brand new company, actually it's new to the state of Georgia and South Carolina. They started in Florida for contractors. So we've got a great product for our smaller contractors, 1, 2, 3-man shops that, they're working for a larger contractor. So they got to have all these, their insurance requirement documents are like this. They're super thick. They need all these endorsements. And so we went out and found a carrier, or the carrier actually found us, to do that kind of thing. So they're kind of revolutionizing things. It's no more paper, no more this, online portals for the clients. So we're trying to push forward, still be an insurance agency. That's just what we are. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to use technology to make life easier for clients. So we text, we email. You can text us at the office. That goes back and forth. Digital stuff, virtual proposals, all that kind of stuff. But, by and large, and at our root, we are an insurance agency. We're just trying to use technology to make life easier for our clients and to get back to them faster. Because in today's world, time is money, and people, want to be kind of dealt with where they want to talk to us. So if you text us first, we're just going to text you. If you email us first, we'll email you. We're not going to try to, take up an hour of your day to talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
We'll do our research from our side, ask you the questions we need to. And we have clients that we've never met face-to-face, folks in Atlanta that we're insuring their businesses, their homes, part of their neighborhoods. And we've never met them face-to-face. We talk on the phone or email.
Wow.
So home auto, small commercial, and agriculture insurance is really what we're good at. We do some of the ancillary stuff, bonds and life insurance and all that. But our core and what we're good at, home auto, small commercial, and farm.
Awesome. All right. Well, Austin Taylor, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Mike.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.